another major thing that happened yesterday, though, was the outdooring of the candidate Mahama, flag bearer Mahama's running mate, Professor Naana.
You know what's funny? Even before that, the EC had a successful IPAC meeting. Yes. And actually, that's a very significant story, but it's sort of the NDC, the John Kuma thing, and then the Nana thing sort of overshadowed. But if you look at the build-up,
yes,
NDC was complaining about many things. The EC was saying indelible ink will not be used. Yeah. They couldn't agree on the CI. IPAC meetings had been suspended. So the EC released the whole timetable, and it looks like everybody's sort of coalescing around the same issue. That's actually a very important development. Not to downplay the NDC running mate, but my point is, you can say that a lot of people have some peace of mind that now the leading parties and the EC have come to a certain meeting of minds around the voting, the date, the modalities, the timetable. So that's a very big story.
It is.
But I'm sure it will unfold in the coming days as well. But certainly you are right. The NDC choosing to announce their running mate the day before International Women's Day.
I think it plays well into the International Women's Day narrative. It was carefully calculated.
Yes, I think they timed it well.
Yes.
Because they are repeating the woman, and she will be if they win, she'll be the first female vice president. So that's a big one. It wasn't surprising to anybody though, because I think we had predicted that she was the front runner, and then as of last week, the newspapers had all started saying that she was the one that President Mahama wanted to use. And so this is not surprising. So most of the papers say it was confirmed.
Yeah.
What we all suspected has been confirmed.
Even Fifi Kwete preceded his announcement by saying, as we all know, I think you mentioned on Point of View the last time I watched that if the people we were predicting, none of them is the running mate, then we don't know our job. But certainly Prof was a forerunner in that editorial that you put together. So the story is on citinewsroom.com.
I wonder how much of a process John Mahama had to go through to come to this conclusion. I don't know whether if from day one, Professor Opoku-Agyemang was his number one choice, or he had to sit and do a lot of consideration, looking at 2020, the sellability of this person, what this person brings to the ticket, regional considerations, ethnic considerations, all of that. I wonder. If there's one thing I'd love to ask John Mahama now is whether or not this was always his.
So this is what I would say for both Mahama and Nanado repeating Bawumia. I think if you lose an election, you can't blame your running mate.
Of course,
you can credit your running mate for helping you win. But you can't blame your running mate for not helping, for you losing. Okay. I don't know if I'm making sense. If you win, you can see how your running mate will help you win.
Yeah.
In a sense of they covering your blind spots and helping you campaign. But you can't blame them for your loss. So that's one. So whatever your analysis is of your loss, you, the candidate, has to take a bigger blame.
Okay.
Do you get it? So I'm not sure in analyzing a loss,
you
could only say maybe they didn't add anything, but you can't say they took too much away.
Okay.
Whatever. Now that's point one. Point number two, this candidate was chosen too close to the first election anyway. It was under COVID. So this was around July. All right. So don't forget COVID-19 became an issue in February 2020. And then by March 20-something, there was a lockdown. So the whole campaign was strange. And then you announce your running mate in July, and both of you are wearing masks. You know what I'm saying? So, meanwhile, the MPP, there's already a vice president who's already visible. So there's no way she's going to upend Bawumia in 2020. Do you get it? Because Bawumia is already the vice president.
Of course, he's been around for a while.
And don't forget that 2017 to 2019 were pretty good until whatever happened. So, I'm not sure you can blame her. And again, most people were saying in the analysis of anything that, she didn't add much to the ticket, the campaign was not right. But if you think about it, look, you have a candidate who's been president before and he wasn't able to win. So why are you going to blame somebody he brought 3 months to an election for his loss? So all I'm saying is that she's the incumbent. So you have to give him a strong reason to say
no.
I'm going to change her.
Yes.
And if you cannot identify any reason why she should be changed, it's a non-starter.
And would changing her have sent some signals around?
So that was the point number 3 I was coming to that. So number one, you didn't announce her early in 2020.
Yeah.
You are the lead candidate, you lost. Now, if you're going to change her, you're going to rock the boat, right?
true.
Because now people know that she's your running mate and now you've lost an election, you're going to change her. So are you going to say that there was something wrong with her?
Exactly.
So, and then the happens, the MPP has a new candidate. That will be just a new candidate. He's going to have a running mate. So it's going to be two new people.
Yeah.
So why do you want to, do you get it? If you are thinking of, if you're an NDC, why do you want to now go and bring a new person to create a new conversation? Do you get it? Just maintain, because Bawumia hasn't chosen his running mate yet.
Yes. And whoever it is will be new to the role and marketing.
They have to
that
learn
person
how to come.
electorates
You know,
will be
it's
a
not whatever
different
you
thing
are
altogether.
to be a running mate. Look, even Bawumia had to step up from being vice president to flag bearer. It's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
Much less a minister or a non-minister becoming a running mate. It's a big thing. So I think NDC was always going to keep him until something seismic or they had a very strong reason to say no. Which is what the people I interviewed yesterday said on the situation. That look, we don't see why people were even thinking this was going to be such a big change, because there's no reason why we're going to change it unless there's something major that happens. There were many names that were coming up.
Yes, that I think that was the context of my question. With all the speculation, I wonder, if John Mahama stuck to his guns from day one, and when I listed all the arguments and said, look, maybe I didn't give Professor Opoku-Agyemang a fair shot 4 years back.
Yeah.
Now is the time for me to give her a good head start. She now understands the workings of this game. So if you bring her back, she's no longer a novice. She knows how to carry herself. She knows how to handle herself, and she would add, or she knows what to do to bridge the gap and get us over the line. So I'm just asking that question. The
I
context
can answer
of all
it in
the
this way.
names.
The only thing, in fairness to your question, you're right. The thing that would have been probably going through the mind of John Mahama and his people would be, look, this election is an election we think we can win. And I have only one term if I win. And typically, the person who becomes vice president has an advantage when it comes to who takes over from whoever is leaving.
Yes.
Now, if he was going to have 2 terms, his vice president would have had 8 years to build capacity too. But his former vice president is dead. He has a new running mate who, if he wins, will have 4 years. Will 4 years be enough for the person to market themselves? Like he had 4 years as running mate to vice president to Mills. Mills dies and he takes over. Now, is he making a choice for somebody to help him win the election, or is making a choice for somebody to take over from him when he's not president? I think that'll be the main question you ask himself. Usually when I talk to politicians, they say win the election first. So most politicians I interview from all sides will say, look, for us, we don't think about those things. We want to win the election first. When we win the election, we think of everything else, which I feel is funny, but that's how they think, or that's what they say they think. So in essence, he's saying, let me get somebody who can help me win and govern.
Then
And let me not think too much about choosing my successor. But he has chosen his successor.
you believe that this move almost
I mean,
kind of puts a full stop.
I always say
to that
this for
argument.
both MPP and NDC, that Akufo-Addo, in choosing Bawumia, who
Chose
was
his
aged
successor.
around 45-ish at the time, chose his successor. Because he was giving him the chance to learn the ropes. By making him go into the dock for the election petition and selling himself, giving all those lectures, he was choosing his successor. Even though he wouldn't say it openly. It's the same thing so even though Professor Jane is 70, if Mahama wins, she'll be 74. Like, how old is Angela Merkel? Right? How old is Yeah, so even though she hasn't, and so a lot of people say, oh, there are so many people who are jostling to take over from Mahama, and she doesn't seem to be
Very keen
on that. So she's played it well. She's very unassuming. She
And
hasn't
you
come
cannot
out to say, I want to be
read her.
president.
Yeah.
She just wants to do the work. Look, I know Ghanaians, I know the way they think.
So it makes a candidate that, as an incumbent, you are comfortable to
Yes,
work
so
with.
a lot of the people who are ambitious
Not so
to take
ambitious.
over as NDC's next
Yeah.
leader
Yeah.
will not see her as a threat, because she doesn't
She doesn't have any She
exude
doesn't exude the vibe of
she
somebody.
doesn't exude ambition.
Yeah, who would want to.
Unlike some other.
But
we've seen.
that's what makes her powerful.
Yeah.
That's what
Very
that's what makes her
unassuming
powerful,
and-
because
Her unreadability.
the fact that she is, because in Ghana, ambition is a sin. In Ghana politics,
It's punishable.
in Ghana, if you peak too soon,
People won't
ask
like.
some of the young ministers in MPP. When people start saying, hey, this guy can be president, hey, they'll cut him to
Quick.
size. So
Quick.
in Ghana, not being ambitious, even in Miss Arthur for many years was considered, oh, Charlie, he just wants to help Mahama do his work. You get it? So in a very strange way, her lack of ambition has played to her advantage.
Her seeming lack of
Or
ambition.
Yes.
the lack of an overt display
expression.
Exactly.
or expression.
Exactly. So even whilst she was the incumbent running mate,
Yeah.
she wasn't too out there.
So a bit supine in character.
Have you noticed that even
Yeah.
in the past 4 years, she hasn't been, she doesn't come out overtly to make too many comments.
But
She
some
just
people
picks,
think it's a disadvantage. Eh?
in the society that we are in, I think Ghanaian society prefers, look, if you look at people like Kufuor, people like Mills, Ghanaian society prefers, at least I'm not a sociologist, so I may be wrong here. I think Ghanaian society struggles with people like Rawlings and Akufo-Addo.
If you're too charismatic,
Generally, they like a Liman.
you have all
They like
your good style in their
they like
faces.
a Bills. They like a Kufuor.
Right.
You know, they like a Mahama. You know, they like people who are
Okay.
less frontal, less
offensive.
upfront. Yes. So generally, that's how I see it. I don't know. People even say that about media personalities, that if you are too out there, it's not an advantage in Ghana. So I don't know. So in a way,
They say opre, basically.
they say you are too known.
Yeah.
So for me, the Mahama has made a choice which is like the obvious and less controversial choice. Those who think that means that 2028 is all up for grabs. I think that when somebody becomes vice president, a team forms around them. People get loyal. People start supporting you. People start liking you. And people start seeing their future in you.
Yeah.
And if you have the ambition to do it, they will propel you. So it may be very early. They haven't won the 2024 elections for anybody to even say that shit. But I'm just saying that when I see how the political parties operate, I can, with a reasonable sense of certainty, say that a power base is going to build around her eventually. And post Mahama,
Resources will also come around.
we are likely to see a Prof Jane candidature.
Okay.
And why not? 74 at the time, she's running a university. Why can't she do it? So it's going to be interesting. So it's going to be Jane Bawumia for a while. Possibly, we don't know. If Bawumia wins, that changes the equation completely because that then means NDC has to now make a decision as to what to do.
Yeah.
So it's not. It's a very. It seems
Very
like a simple
critical.
decision, but think about it. If Bawumia wins this election, and then you have Mahama, NDC has to ask themselves, what are they going to do now?
Yeah, because then Mahama will have another term.
I don't think
Hey. Yeah.
NDC would. I don't know what they're
want-
going to do. But
yeah.
are you going to really bring Mahama again?
Yeah.
Are you going to now bring Jane to be the? So my point is that if Mahama wins, the transition to Jane becomes easier.
Yeah.
If Mahama loses, everything gets blown out of the water
Yes.
because that then is like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And people have been in power for 12 years.
Yeah.
Will NDC even survive it? So it's not a very simple thing. And you know, in Ghana, we don't like thinking long term. We're always thinking short term. So a lot of people in NDC who have been trying to make noise about not wanting Jane are saying, look, we need to make a decision post Mahama too. Because they are assuming that by the time Mahama finishes his term, she will be 76, which is too old. I interviewed Len Johnson Sirleaf. She was president in her 70s. At the time, she was probably the best for Liberia. I don't know. So our politics is very opportunistic and very short-termist in the way they think and plan.
So, Bernard, let me pick on your experience as well and ask you about a rather short-term view, right? About this election and the fact that, look, we've moved from the free SHS conversation. Now we are really in an economic situation where people are not happy with the outcome of things. People are looking out for their interests, and it's very financial and all. And so, yes, I've heard arguments that, look, being the vice president is not about being an economic guru or anything. It's not an economic role, even though you are the chair of the economic management committee and all of that. And then the conversation is, okay, if you've changed the minority leader with the argument that this election is an economic one, so you are bringing someone who has a background in that area, then why don't you also have a running mate to the flag bearer who has some proficiency in economics, so that then you're coming to face Bawumia.
Well,
So
you know, that,
on the campaign ground, you can bet yourself.
but you're not facing Bawumia because Bawumia is now the candidate.
Yes.
That's number one. Number two, I didn't think NDC was going to choose an economist for a number of reasons. And not even because I spoke to them. If you listen to their way they criticize Bawumia, it will be quite anachronistic to then go and choose an economist, right? Because the whole NDC campaign is on the basis that Bawumia has failed.
He's failed, yes.
And that the whole idea
promise of an economic messiah
exactly.
didn't work.
So why would they want to repeat that? That's number one. Number two, they don't think Mahama is deficient economically. Do you get it? Because they think that he was the vice president at the mills.
Yes.
And this EMT thing,
he
was. So I don't think they
needed someone to make up for an economic deficiency in their flag bearer.
That's the point. I don't think and choosing, and so for example, if they are choosing an economist, it would have been like endorsing that whole thing.
Narrative.
Because to be fair, the Bawumia thing caught on with them, which is why they chose Mr. Arthur, because Mr. Arthur was actually an economist. And they needed at the time.
And I was the governor of the Bank of Ghana.
Exactly. So they needed at
he
the
was
time.
deputy.
And also because of the Mill's death, they also needed. Mr. Arthur ticked all the boxes. Yeah. He was a former deputy finance minister under Rawlings. Mills made him governor. Yeah. Now, anybody who's finance minister and governor is highly rated by a party. So Dufour is one. Yeah. Mr. Arthur is one. Yeah. He's Fanti.
Yeah. From Cape Coast.
All right. Yeah. And he's been loyal to NDC throughout. I was in university primary school. He was lecturing at Legon. I went to school with his kids. So his Arthur is NDC through and through.
Again, wasn't someone who rocked the boat necessarily.
So once Mills dies and you want somebody to support, so Mr. Arthur answered all the questions for NDC at the time. He's an economist, he's a Fanti, and he's experienced. Because at the time, Mahama was considered less experienced. Yeah. So Mr. Arthur came to provide a solid ticket. Yeah. All right. Prior to the death of Kwesi Boche, some people were considering Kwesi Boche because they wanted a more mature person for 2020. Yeah. But once the 2020 boat had sailed and Jane had been chosen, I didn't see how she was going to be changed. So I didn't think NDC was going to bring an economist. Because I think now, when I asked them yesterday, they said, look, they are prepared to face Bawumia in a debate. Right? And Bawumia is an economist. And they keep saying, I interviewed some guy yesterday, what's his name? Khalid. And he was saying that they felt like Bawumia was given monologues at his central lecture. So he hasn't really faced a strong debate. Yeah. So they think that Mahama, and if you listen to the debates between Mahama and Nanado in 2012, Mahama is actually a very good debater.
He is.
So Akufo-Addo is better at giving speeches. But in a debate with the nuances of argument, it would have which is funny because even Akufo-Addo is actually a lawyer.
Akufo-Addo's debate with John Mahama in the past.
Yes, also
but things may not be the same.
Yeah, so Akufo-Addo as an advocate is very good in court. Yeah. But a debate is a different thing. A debate is dynamic. A debate has a lot of... So, for example, Donald Trump is a very good debater. Yeah. He will bully his way through. Yeah. He has punchlines. Yeah. So, if you listen to the 2012 analysis, people say Mahama was a better debater because he knows how to parry. He's a communicator and so on. Now, Bawumia is a good speech giver. So, in a debate, we don't know how he'll react to... You get it? So can he... It's going to be an interesting thing. So NDC actually wants a debate.
Actually have a debate.
So we'll see how that goes.
That should be good.
And so we will see. But I didn't think, in answer to your question, I didn't think NDC was going to choose an economist at all. Okay. And bringing a woman in gives them a new story to sell, right? Yeah. A woman.
Yes.
It's the first time. So if there's any freshness factor. So either a young person or a woman. Yeah. You know, so... Yeah. And obviously MPP is also watching this. So what's Bawumia going to do?
Certainly, I see that her announcement is resonating with the middle class, the women, these sort of people. The idea was that in the previous election, that was going to catch on a bit more because then she was an academic, having been the vice chancellor of UCC. Then she could also galvanize the support of the academia and all of that, even though generally the university communities in the country historically have been voting in favor of the NPP and all of that. So now, I mean, what must she be doing in this new role? Having come once, having gotten some experience on the campaign trail, and now also seeing how disillusioned Ghanaians are and expecting something new, albeit with her cleanliness, the fact that she has integrity, she is clean, she keeps things
So I'll say something in relation to your question.
What's she going to do?
So, in 2020, number one, the time was too short, and this person, the whole COVID thing, and the point was that, like it or not, Bawumia had redefined what a running mate would be. And I think in 2020 she underwhelmed because why Bawumia had taken the running mate thing?
It was, yeah.
She was too new, and the NDC themselves didn't give her the proper platform. You get it? I remember there was a program that she was supposed to address. Like Mahama spoke for like 30 minutes or 45 minutes.
Before she came,
You know, and by the time she came to speak,
people were
yeah, so I'm like, they didn't really propel her, they didn't prepare her.
That's
so
true.
they didn't prepare her, they didn't propel her.
That's also true.
And then they didn't give her a distinct message.
Okay.
MPP gave Bawumia a message. You are the economics guy. Akufo to talk about vision,
Yeah.
1D, 1F, 1 village, 1 dam, 1 free SHS, but you will go into the economy.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. So she was talking about inclusive. It wasn't very clear what she was talking about. Then people didn't really know who she was at the level on the ground because she didn't have such a formidable team with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the promise of bringing all those people in and the COVID as well, November, whatever, July, it's too late. Now you've had 4 years to think about it. If you go and repeat the same mistake, then you are not
Then
serious
you-
as a party.
you don't
You
know.
always need
Yeah.
to now say, okay, what's her message? What does she bring to the table? What aspects of the message will she own? What aspects of there's a lot of people feel NDC is too Mahama centric.
Right.
They have not building a structure beyond the Mahama thing. And there's a certain sense in which that is true. All right. So Mahama is their magic wand and it's been for a long time. But they need to find a way of
Diversifying that
That's the thing.
influence.
you get it. So she needs a message. What's her message? Even with whoever will be running it for the MPP as well, the person needs to have a message. Because the candidate cannot go everywhere and say the same thing. Somebody else has to say something else. So what message is going to put across? Is it inclusion? Is it social? Like what do you call it? Like social, what do you call it? The thing that gender ministry does.
Okay, so it's
Social
called social
protection.
protection. Yeah,
Yes.
that's it.
Do you get it? Is
Social
it
protection.
environment?
Yeah.
Is it gender mainstreaming?
Women,
Is it youth? Is it unemployment? There has to be.
and all.
It's not just we have a woman who's a professor.
Yeah.
So you need to translate the promise of like look at Mills. Mills comes in. Rawlings is everything. You bring Mills as a technocrat who you convert into a technopole. It took years for them to actually get the final message from Mills. It was because initially MPP said he was the poodle for Rawlings, and then he became vice president, and then they said tax expert. We don't know what else. Oh,
So
it took. For
the
my point is
NDC
that
needs to propel her.
They need to
They
create-
prepare
they
her.
need to
They need
create-
to give her a message.
you need to translate the person's promise
Yeah.
into real, tangible benefit or relevance for voters. So the fact that the person is a professor of a university doesn't mean that professors vote for the person. The person needs to say something that resonates with the public and speak to the hearts of people. Some of that is talent and gift of the gap.
Yeah.
Some of that is preparation and research. All right. So there are people who are naturally gifted. So Mahama is a gifted speaker.
Yes.
Kufado is a gifted speaker. So they give them a mic, go to
But you
sleep.
think Bawumia has been groomed?
I remember,
He has
I always say that
thought
the
himself
first public interview Bawumia gave
Yeah.
after he was named was
Yeah.
done by me. I was sitting in this chair.
Right.
He was in the Google office to do a Google Hangout. And we interviewed him about his economics and what he had no, he was,
It was not
raw.
It
coherent.
was very green
You get it?
in the game.
But in 8 years after the court case, I mean, the guy is on fire. I mean, I remember this guy asking the questions on day about what his economy will be. He says it's not a doomsday economy. Of course, it's come back to haunt him. And trust me, sometimes speaking is not an advantage because you say too much or you offer too much. But my point is that he's graduated from a technocrat into a technopole, as Lloyd Amma will say. So Jenana will see whether she's grounded in. So if she goes to Kutograba Market and she's speaking Fanti to the women, what will she tell them? She goes to Seshubekwai, or she goes to Takwa to meet miners on a Saturday evening. There's no script. What's she going to say? These are the things that, because that connection, you can't buy it. We'll see how she performs. So the microscope is on her. We wish her well.
0549986996. We'd like to take some of your comments, so share them with us. 0549986996. We've been having a conversation around the announcement of Professor Naana Opoku-Agyemang as running mate to John Mahama, who's flag bearer for the NDC. We started off reflecting on John Kuma, former deputy finance minister. He passed He passed away yesterday, much to the shock of a lot of people. In fact, everyone. So you can share your views with us. I see some coming in already.
Yeah.
So Nathan will help us.
All right, this one says Mahama will wipe the floor with Baumia in a debate. K from La Paz says, Naana Opoku-Agyemang has always been there in the last 4 years. I usually notice her sitting with the executives when Mahama is addressing people in public. I think it was very smart to keep her away from the media and political debates to maintain the neutral and technocratic position with the public. Interesting perspective.
Okay,
Somebody's asking if Ghanaians are ready for a female leader.
Why not?
You've had a female vice president, a chief justice. You had a female speaker of parliament.
Why not?
You had a female attorney general.
Yes.
I mean, why can't you have a female
Yes,
president?
I think it stands to reason that the next thing in a few years should
I don't think Ghanaians will have any problem with the female president.
not at all.
On
Not
either
at all.
side.
I don't think
I don't
so.
think so. I don't think it's an issue.
No,
actually.
Shouldn't be a
but you
problem.
asked the question, Caleb, and it's something once a while I think about. And I thought about it a few days ago when I won't call it rumors, when we heard inside info that Prof Naana Opoku-Agyemang was going to be Mahama's running mate. It led me to ask a question. I think Bernard, you mentioned, and Caleb, what the MPP will do. I don't know whether it
In response to
whether it factors into
it will.
because now we are in a certain age where you want to appeal to people who also believe that women need to get a seat at the table, and there are those who are very passionate and strong and believe that women need to have a greater say in politics and decision making. So you kind of ask yourself, what does this mean for the MPP? Will they think about, will they even consider the possibility of having a woman in the mix and say that if there are 5 people on the short list, maybe 1 or 2 might be women, just so that you satisfy that constituency. No matter how small or big you might perceive them to be, you need to think about them as well.
Yeah, it's a big thing for inclusion, because if you look at it, the number of NPP females on the NPP side has gone down since the primaries.
The number of females in Ghana's parliament
But
has...
the question is, do women vote for women in Ghana?
That's a good question.
That's because
That's
the
a
people
good
who put themselves out there even to... The parties were supposed to even do affirmative action and say, for some seats, they should reserve it for women. They haven't even done that.
Yeah.
I mean, to think that we've done this for 30 years in this Fourth Republic,
Yeah.
that we had 34 MPs who were women. You could have said, by gentleman's agreement,
in
that...
the last parliament,
Yeah.
34.
Let's just have an agreement that for where we have a woman candidate, but they were all contested. Tina Mensah was contested.
Yeah.
They were all contested, and some of them lost.
In fact, 11 women are leaving parliament now.
Yeah.
So there are 3 on the NDC side, 8 on the NPP side. If you look at it,
The lassoer of Bando, she's been defeated. Tina Mensah has been defeated.
there is Frida
Rempe, defeated by
she's
Gideon
going.
Boako.
Amma Poma is left.
Defeated.
Francisca Mensah, she's not coming
Coming
back.
back.
There is Gifty Chum Ampofu. There is Tinaina Mensah, you mentioned.
They are going.
Sheila Battles is leaving. Sarah
She was defeated by a
Adrasafo,
woman.
Yeah.
Sarah Adrasafo defeated by Michael Kwe.
Hajia Lareba Abudu Wale
Yes, defeated.
also leaving.
as well.
So, and even though the president has been the he or she advocate, a lot of the gender advocates say they've not seen a lot of push for women in the president's government. And when he even reshuffled some people, women left, we didn't see a lot of new women faces coming
But
through.
on the point, before I get to the women, there was a point that Nathan was making about what Mbamia would do. I actually think that this doesn't change too much. And I'll explain. See, don't forget that MPP has a candidate who is from the Northeast region for the first time. And the MPP stronghold is Ashanti and Eastern region.
Yeah.
So I think the decision that they will choose a running mate from Ashanti has been made. Partly because even of the Alan issue.
Okay.
Because you see, there's already... And Alan is campaigning. Is it don't...
But I'm sure you'll be a force.
No, what I'm saying is that... You see, the NPP has a problem with Alan.
Yeah.
Alan is...
His departure has wounded them.
So, I don't think MPP will choose a running mate outside Ashanti. So as for that one, it's clear. They will not say... They will choose somebody from the Ashanti region. They will do that. It's very clear they will do that. Because there's a sense in which they feel like... I mean, look, this morning, I was reading a story. The Gutta president for Ashanti region saying their businesses are collapsing.
Yeah.
We've seen footages of people complaining about the market, about roads. There's a lot of disillusionment in that region. I was watching a show yesterday as well. One of my guys was hosting a show talking about the issues. So what MPP fears is low turnout in their stronghold. And every election that has led to a government losing, the turnout is lower than the average.
In their strongholds.
If you run the regression, or if you run the thing from 1996, every an incumbent has won, the turnout has been higher than 70%. Every time an incumbent has lost,
the turnout
has been lower. So it suggests that it's disillusionment among those who support typically a government.
So protest votes.
No.
Not
necessarily.
It is staying away. Or inability of the government party to rally its people because they've governed badly.
Yeah.
So if you look at it, and this is my conclusion based on the correlation I see. Because if you look at, and I've proved this on air before, if you look at 96, 2000 election, the turnout was lower than 70%. That was the election that brought Kufuor to power. 2004, the turnout was over 80%. That was the election that maintained Kufuor. 2008, the turnout came back down to below 75. That's the election that kicked MPP out. 2012, the election that maintained Mahama, the turnout went up again. 2016, the turnout came down. 2020, the turnout went up again. Now, all you're seeing MPP try to do is because they know that there's a certain disillusionment among their supporters. Right. Now, the Alan thing makes it worse because now he's coming in as somebody who is seen within the Ashanti region as a son of the region and that kind of thing. So they would have to choose somebody from that region
who can make up for that loss they are having.
Which is why the Napo thing is very strong because of his stature and support base in the region. He's seen as somebody who can galvanize
the region
to rally behind the MPP's fortunes, which is why he's such a strong forerunner. And for me, what's interesting is last point, whether he chooses, and we are not saying he's choosing either Napo or Educhum, but the two of them have an education track record.
Yeah.
So
and free SHS has been a big thing.
So Napo is the minister who implemented free SHS.
Yeah.
And then Educhum is the minister who saw it through the first or second phase.
Yeah.
So if he chooses either of them, if you have a vice presidential encounter between them and Naana, there will be a lot of discussion on education. It will be a very interesting discussion to have or debate to hold, where either Napo or Educhum is debating Naana on education.
Yeah.
Because all of them will say they have education credentials. Napo will say, I implemented free SHS against the odds.
Educhum will say, I continued it.
And then Prof will say, I have so it's going to be interesting if there was a vice presidential debate on
education.
Education will naturally be. And it will be interesting. It will be very, very interesting to see how that will pan out.
My question, like I said, I've just been thinking about all of that. But I kind of support your point, though, because I feel that, like you're saying, there are so many, the MPPs has to make a decision on so many things. So I don't know the permutations that will go into choosing a running mate. But you're right about the Ashanti factor. It's very crucial to what they want to do. So maybe they may not consider a woman.
Yeah.
But, all right, a few messages. This one says, do we really need an economist as a president or a running mate? What we need is someone who can assemble the best brains to manage the economy. I don't think Dr. Bawumia is anywhere close to Dr. Nimoy Thompson, Yamson, and others. Just check the number of guys in Dr. Bawumia's office, but can you say they've done a good job on the economy? It says their populism is largely the reason we are facing problems as a country, okay? This one says, this is not about who speaks well. The struggle is too much. People talk plenty. When they are in power, they do less. We are not going to accept it anymore. We'll give it to those who speak less because not much has changed in this country. King Faisal in Tabora. This was the choice of a woman for a running mate brings fresh air into the political system in which most people feel tired, fed up, and hopeless with the old way of doing things. Whether we agree or not, the choice of Prof Opoku-Agyemang will have a strong and positive impact on our politics and on the fortunes of the NDC.
Generally, you are right. Generally, and I need to say this, generally, women are less corrupt than men. It's been proven by the record. I think they make different kind of leaders because the way they approach leadership, when they are good at it, they do it better. When they are good at it, they do it better. So I can't make a general sweeping statement and say all women are better leaders than men. But when a woman leads well, the way they approach leadership tends to be more inclusive, tends to be more humane, tends to be less reckless than men. So if you look at Angela Merkel, we've seen Germany, she was the most powerful.
And the New Zealand lady, the young lady in New Zealand.
But when Trump was at the peak of his powers, the Western world saw Merkel as the leader to follow, because Trump was essentially leading the world in a direction that they thought was brinkmanship. And Merkel emerged as the woman who steered the free world, using that word in a very limited sense. You know, you can say what you want about Thatcher, because her leadership was very divisive, very divisive. But some people still felt it was strong leadership. All right.
The name I was looking for was Jacinda Ardern.
She's the New Zealand.
She stepped down though. They have a new president there. She also provided some fantastic leadership in New Zealand, especially during COVID.
Yep. So for what it's worth, we wish everybody well. We wish them well.
Oh man, 97.3 Citi FM. This is the Citi Breakfast Show, and we're having a conversation